Hi everyone, welcome to Coffee Break with Your Soul. I have received this really wonderful email recently, and I say wonderful because it was basically wonderfully honest and beautifully written. And I was asked whether I could do a video and share my thoughts on this notion that when the sense of self dissolves, the drive to do, to create, to achieve anything in life dissolves with it. And this person basically told me that she watched a few videos. She came across a few videos on YouTube where it was being discussed, and she said that it left her frightened, sort of the prospect that she would become this couch potato, numb to life and not ever doing anything or wanting to do anything. In particular, that she described herself as a very creative person, and so this is why she felt sort of prompted to send me that message and to ask me to do this video. So I really, to be frank, I really don't know how to answer this question, and I will tell you why. First of all, I am aware that this is something that is being often mentioned. Well, maybe not often, but I certainly came across certain people who do say that when the sense of self dissolves, the desire to create anything, to achieve anything, is it dissolves with it. And I find that part really baffling. It's not even whether this is true or not. It's really on what basis is that judgment actually made? Because I've been on this journey for over 10 years now, and I have met so many people. And the one thing that continue to notice is that even though there may be so many similarities when it comes to our journeys of awakening, the way we will be experiencing things, the way we will be perceiving things at different points on this journey will be so different and so unique to each and every one of us. And in fact, at some point, that direct experience, the way we directly experience life or anything in it, is going to be so extremely subtle that it won't even be possible to describe it. So, for example, when I only ever speak of I'm only ever sort of sharing my perception of things. I'm only ever speaking from my experience, from how I'm experiencing things. But at the same time, I'm not really describing what is my direct experience, because what is my direct experience is literally impossible to describe. It's impossible to grasp. And so, and so that cliche example probably, that we can really use the most articulate words, to describe what it feels like, to eat chocolate to someone that never had it, and describe all the sensations and all the flavors, and it can be really intricate and super detailed, but it will never be or replace the actual experience that is going to be unique to that person that has finally got to try, that piece of chocolate. So this is one thing that I have to kind of mention before we even go any farther. The other thing is that, these statements that are so often made, they're really just a one perspective, a one way people perceive things. So it's not even about whether the perspective is right or wrong. It's not about invalidating other people's perspectives just because they are different to ours. We may agree with them. We may disagree with them. We may be, some of those perspectives will be helpful. Some of them will resonate. Some of them won't resonate. So it's not about perspectives being bad. It's just about that realization that we're only dealing with perspectives. We're never dealing with the truth. And the thing that I really recommend to always watch for is when those perspectives that when they are presented as the ultimate truth or as the ultimate answer or the truth, to really use it as an invitation to be really discerning and to really see that first and foremost, and to really be discerning, to really always go back to that place of sort of quiet, you know, where the place before any ideas, before any thoughts happen, you know, where there's like letting go of anything we think we know, whether what we know is something that we adopted from other people, their viewpoint, their perspective, but also letting go of anything that we think we know, right? And just stripping away and sitting with any question in that place. Because if you ever listen to certain teacher where you may have not even understood what they're saying, sort of you couldn't really kind of grasp it, and maybe you found it even a bit frustrating or confusing, but there was this sense that what they were pointing to was the truth, right? Even though they didn't speak of it or they didn't say what it was, and even though you didn't understand what that was, you know, that you felt this, that you knew that they were speaking from the place of truth. So when I speak of the truth, I'm not speaking about, you know, whether we agree with what we said, whether it resonates with what we already believe. I'm not speaking of something where we prefer to be the case, or that would be nice kind of a truth. I'm talking about that which is deeply felt but can never be described, right? So to always go back to that place when we hear any kinds of statements, whether they come from you know, non-duality teachers or any spiritual teachers or anybody, you know, anybody who we listen to always remember that those are only perspective. And it's such a beautiful reminder, to really an invitation to really notice when we begin to grasp, you know, when we begin to try to be attached to one or any other or whatever perspective, you know, it's to notice when we're doing the grasping. You know, if there's anything that I can say is that when that sense of self dissolves, there is no rule book. There is no rule book as to how people should live their lives. How you know, how from then on that life is going to manifest itself. So this is why I find it really baffling, because there will be certain people who will continue to be really active in life, who will maybe not even continue. Maybe they'll actually start for the first time to be actually immersed in life. Maybe for the first time, when that sense of self dissolves, and with that, a lot of self-referential thinking, all that stuff that we think that creates that self-doubt, that stifles the sort of authentic free expression, all of a sudden is actually released. That creative force, whatever it is that moves these bodies, you know, that stirs, that gives that impulse to do anything, all of a sudden is free to be expressed. And so for many people, it's actually going, the dissolution of sense of self will actually mean that for the first time, maybe they will finally start to express themselves, whether it's in art form or in any other way. Maybe they will finally do sports and compete in sports that, you know, they didn't have confidence to do that before, because they had so much thinking, that self-referential thinking going on, that, you know, stopped them from doing that. You know, for many people, actually, because that personality there's no attachment to personality anymore. You know, that personality is actually free to shine in a very authentic way. So people who have never really been outspoken all of a sudden become outspoken, right? Because there's no need to defend oneself from anything, to protect this sense of self. So, you know, the expression becomes less sort of filtered and so on. So to judge other people, and people that we don't even know, we don't actually even personally know, look at their lives and see that they're active in life, that they're doing things, creating, feeling alive, and to make on those bases any claims as to where they're at on their journey, and that if they are being active in life, if they're living life, then, you know, that means that there must be an ego. It's got to be ego driven. Otherwise, they would just not be doing anything, right? I'm not really sure how that claim, how that judgment can be made. And also, I would ask, why is anyone invested in it, in how other people's lives look like, right? Because if then someone doesn't do anything and, you know, moves to some remote place and wants to not to do anything and just live in silence and done with achieving or creating anything, what makes us think that what this person is experiencing is not actually a result of the sense of self dissolving, but basically going through some kind of an existential numbness, right? How can we know that? How can, you know, but first and foremost, when that sense of self dissolves, at least from my perspective, that investment in judging how other people live their lives, the assessments about where they're at on this journey, you know, they go, the comparisons to other people, right? Comparing, listening to other people, about listening to their experiences and comparing ourselves to those experiences, and then either feeling secure when they match our experience or insecure when we don't experience things the same way, right? All these comparisons and that investment in how other people do their spirituality or how their journey of awakening looks like, and all of that just goes. And all that's really always most important is just the direct experience, is telling the truth of the moment as to how things are experienced right now. And then if there's still suffering, if there's there are some contractions in the body, there's some resistance, there is something still happening, then we can absolutely explore it. But without those comparisons now, without those ideas about how things should be, all those narratives about how things should be, just go. It's whatever is arising in the moment, and it's met fully in that moment as it is. So honestly, what I think so many people judge as someone having an egoic drive is really just aliveness. Because when that sense of self dissolves, and, you know, that self-referential thinking that is such a burden that stops us from doing so many things, you know, when that goes, because it's no longer stifling that self-expression, it's no longer obstructing, it's either not there, that self-referential thinking, or if it's there, it's sort of immediately recognized for what it is. So it just sort of comes and goes, it's sort of floating in and out, and it's irrelevant, because there's nobody there that self-referential thinking sort of refers to, so to speak. And so honestly, there's whatever is being acted upon, whatever is being done is just whatever it is. And there's this feeling of aliveness, but how that aliveness is going to manifest itself, it's going to be so unique to different people. I mean, it's the kind of aliveness that, you know, that if there's this impulse to sing, for example, and you love to sing, then it won't even matter whether you're going to be singing under the shower or to, you know, 5 of your friends listening, or to the audience made of thousands of people, right? Because there will be no identity that's attached to it, as in, oh, I'm such a failure because I didn't make it to sing for many people. I didn't become famous. It's just, if the impulse is to sing, you sing, and those things won't matter. There is no need to go after anything in order to. It's not that the desires don't arise, but the weight of those desires is literally just this, the same, it seems to be coming from the same impulse that arises when there's an impulse to go and make ourselves a cup of coffee. It's the same thing that creates the impulse to create a painting, make a video, talk about something, write, do the gardening, you know, go and get a different house in a different place. It's just it feels as though those are desires that arise they simply arise, but that aliveness is not dependent upon anything being those desires being fulfilled. Right? It's an aliveness that's there when we're making a cup of coffee. It's that aliveness that we feel when we are riding a bike really fast or competing somewhere. But let's say, you know, if let's say, to just an example, let's say we would be competing in some sport and we lose, then we lose. Then we're competing. We put, you know, this creative force is just in motion, and it's deeply felt in that moment, and then we lose, and we may even have like a moment of disappointment, or maybe even being pissed that we lost or whatever, right? But it's something that simply is arising, but there's no identity derived from it. There's no identity that just because I lost a competition that I'm a loser, and then I'm going to go into this whole self-rumination about what that means and how much I suck. No, you compete, you put yourself out there, you lose, you may or may not have any reaction as a result of that, and then you go and have a cup of tea. You know, it's the next freshness, it's whatever arises next. You know, there's really just nothing that sticks. And anything that's being done creative or wants to be sort of achieved is really not in order to, it's not in order to get validation so we can feel good about ourselves. It's to get a praise, to feel like we belong, to feel accepted. There's no agenda that is attached to what we're being creating. It's just, it almost feels as though things are just being done, but without a sense of anyone actually doing it. It's simply whatever impulse is arising, it's sort of being followed. And really that aliveness that I'm speaking of is not dependent on what we do externally. That aliveness will be there when we decide to go dancing, and that aliveness will be there when we decide to sit in silence, you know, walk in nature. That aliveness is going to be there whether we're competing or whether we're doing some kind of gardening. You know, it really there's no rule book about how our lives should manifest and look like, and what we should do and shouldn't do, if when that sense of self dissolves. In fact, I would say that all those ideas about how things should be, how they should manifest, what we should be doing, that also cause often lots of confusion and rumination about the right, wrong choices and everything, that actually goes. It's just whatever is arising freshly from moment to moment. And to even speak of moment to moment sounds a bit strange, because it's just the sort of, I really don't know where those impulses come from. I don't have answers. I really don't have any answers, which is why I know that answering this question was probably not what was sort of expected in a sort of clear-cut way, because um, when it comes to these things, there are no black and white answers. There are no this or that kind of, there are no conclusions. There is, however, a period on this journey of awakening where we can actually experience what I refer to as like an existential numbness. And this is going to, again, be very different. How it happens, how long it lasts, the intensity, how exactly it shows up, it will be really, again, unique to each and every person. And maybe even whether there's a possibility that some people don't even go through that at all, right? But I can certainly resonate with this part of the journey post-awakening when, after that so-called honeymoon period, I was sort of confronted with all kinds of beliefs that I had, all those beliefs that make me a person, the being somebody, the beliefs about what I should be doing in my life, and all the stuff that comes with that, the needing of validation and all sorts of things, right? And when that knowing of who we truly are meets with still those beliefs being kind of alive and solid and sort of still there playing out, then we may experience this period of really just confusion, lostness, and what I refer to as like this almost like an existential numbness. And for me, that period lasted for a very, very long time. And I was confronting all kinds of beliefs and ideas about who I was, about who I thought I should be, what I thought I should be doing as far as my life, my career, and so on. And let the process of letting go and dissolving of those ideas, it can be really painful. And it was quite painful for me for quite a while. When one by one those things began to dissolve, and the way I was experiencing it, and I know that for the fact that there's many people that also are experiencing this, in particular after, like I said, the initial awakening, is really feeling this sense of lostness. And I know that I really, if I were to meet you at that time, I would probably say, I really don't know who I am anymore. I really didn't know who I was anymore and what was even true. And there were many moments where I didn't even want to get out of bed, to be frank. And I just really wanted to check out many times. I just really didn't want to be here. And I was going through moments of, this aliveness felt when that sense of true self kind of was deeply felt again, and then kind of off again and right into like suffering and really just not wanting to be here and going through this. So in those times, because it was like sort of more like waves over a long period of time, it wasn't like super intense or painful all the time. But I do remember sort of got that what people often describe as kind of going in and out and losing this connection, right, with who we truly are. And there will be different people describing it in different way. But I can certainly tell you that because of all of this, that drive to do anything was completely gone. But it wasn't. But it came out of just this numbness, this really existential numbness. And this not knowing who I was anymore. And because I didn't know who I was anymore, I didn't know what to do next, or how to make sense out of things anymore. And so certainly that absolutely can be a stage where that where that drive can be completely gone, and there can be this experience of just like I said, some kind of numbness to life, and really becoming a bit of a couch potato. But I also find it to be, a very much part of this journey that sort of needs to play out for some people. And again, it will differ. It will differ from person to person. So I don't know if this answers the question. I actually don't have any ultimate answers. I'm not sure whether I have any answers, to be frank. All I'm sharing is just my current perspective. And like I said, I always encourage to be discerning, to reflect on the things that we hear, to really just try as best as we can to connect to that which feels true. And like I said, it's not about what we agree with true. It's what's before that, and just follow that. So thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.